Blended finance sounds straightforward, but in practice, it's much harder than it looks. Global efforts are picking up speed, and it's exciting to see how they are shaping up to meet the growing demand for funding the SDGs. Did you know we're in the midst of a fourth generation of blended finance? Let us examine the evolution of ideas through these international conferences on financing for development. The first such conference, in 2002, produced the Monterey Consensus. This underlined the need for institutions to promote the use of ODA to leverage additional financing for development. This was a key turning point and the true genesis of blended finance. The second international conference in 2008 resulted in the Doha Declaration. This recognized the importance of a well-functioning private sector in generating economic growth in poor countries. The third conference in 2015 produced the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. It highlighted that blended finance instruments lower investment-specific risks and incentivize additional private sector finance. The fourth such conference in 2025 in Spain produced the Sevilla Commitment, a renewed global framework for financing sustainable development in the decade ahead. This commitment recognizes the need to strengthen enabling environments and promote innovative financial mechanisms to increase private capital mobilization for sustainable development. For this last conference, the UN said that a first priority is to rethink blended finance and get it right this time. And also that the clock is ticking, and we have a once-in-80-year opportunity to reform the financial infrastructure and a last chance to correct course before 2030. The Secretary-General of the Red Cross indicated that more funds are urgently needed to confront the emergencies of the world and that financial innovation holds the key. So what are the obstacles to growing blended finance? There are many, and we will explore them in this course. One of the surprising obstacles, however, has nothing to do with the players or the products or the money. It's simply a lack of clear and common awareness and understanding, the absence of a common way of talking about, advancing, and launching new initiatives. Why is this so? Because each party brings its own important but different piece of the pie to the table. The public sector can take on more risk for development results. The not-for-profit sector brings patience, innovation, and networks. The private sector brings financial capacity and sophistication. But few understand the blended finance pie as a whole. Each side still mainly talks its own language, is driven by its own motivations, and works at its own speed. This is not a recipe for success. To succeed, we can break down these walls. Let's do a brief recap. There is a $4 trillion annual funding shortfall for SDGs. Private sector funding is needed to close this funding gap. Concessional funds can mobilize private sector funding at scale by reducing risks or increasing returns. This blending is happening, but much less than what is needed. Blended finance remains an essential tool in closing the funding gap, but we need a major rethink. We need practitioners inspired to actualize the next generation of blended finance.